Is Jurassic World Dominion Dynamite or Dino Man? Let's find out now. Hey everyone, this is David Stark from Watcher Pass, and it is very hard to see and breathe in this, but I have this mask ready for my Jurassic World Dominion review, which comes to theaters on June 10th, 2022. Hold on, I gotta take this off. Okay, that was tough to breathe in there, but let's talk Jurassic World Dominion. It's coming to theaters on June 10th, 2022. It is the sixth movie in the Jurassic franchise. I guess the first trilogy was Jurassic Park, and then they rebooted it with Jurassic World in 2015. Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom came out in 2018, which was pre-pandemic, which feels like a very, very long time ago. It kind of was a very long time ago. It feels almost prehistoric, but now we have the new movie, Jurassic World Dominion. It is kind of the conclusion of, I guess, this arc. It's supposed to close out the storylines of both Jurassic Park, that series, and Jurassic World. And it is a very big task to do that. It is an unenviable task, and the writers did their best. My hot take is I think you should rent it. I kind of left the movie thinking it was a pass, but I kind of kept thought more and more. I think it's ultimately a rental. Look, it's got the whole crew back. It's really fun to see all the old characters and the new characters together. It's got some really interesting dinosaurs, some great effects, and a ton of references to all of your favorite movies, but most importantly, Jurassic Park. But the movie is really, really long. I mean, part of that is they have to clear up these storylines and close them all out. And it just feels like kind of a mess at times. Like the story goes all over the place to find reasons for why everyone is now in this kind of new Jurassic World place. And at times it almost feels like a Fast and Furious or like a Mission Impossible movie. It's more of like a heist movie that has dinosaurs rather than a movie about dinosaurs. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about the movie, a few things I like, a few things I didn't like, and then go into the ending. As you can imagine, there will be dinosaur-sized spoilers in the ending discussion. If you don't want to know what happens in the film, you don't want to know how this story all turns out and wraps itself up, then I turn it off at the ending section. I will keep it vague up until that point, so you can just hear my thoughts. You can hear more about the movie itself. But if we get to the ending section, you don't want to know what happens in the film, I would turn it off. So in Jurassic World Dominion, it takes place 4 years after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And the nice thing is, like, the timeline in this movie lines up with the timeline in the movie. So in the movie, it talks about how Jurassic Park opened in 1993, which is when the movie came out. And then it talks about how like Jurassic World took place in 2015, and then the Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, all the craziness there took place 4 years ago. It was kind of a nice touch that they timed it up with the actual movie's releases. I kind of like that. But this movie takes place 4 years after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. And in Fallen Kingdom, you had this craziness that happened. It wasn't a really great movie, but in the end, the dinosaurs escaped. They were all on this private estate, and Owen and Claire let the dinosaurs go rather than have them all go extinct as this like poison gas was leaking out. So now the dinosaurs are out there, they're in the world, and we are learning to kind of coexist. Well, we're not actually coexisting. The dinosaurs are pretty dangerous, it seems like. But people are doing their best. There's dinosaur deaths, there's dangerous things that happen. The film does a really great job at the start of kind of showing all this. But eventually, what happens is there's a project to kind of capture the dinosaurs and put them in a sanctuary that's in the mountains of Italy. And this sanctuary is administered by, I think the company is called Biosyn, something like that. It is a research company that like researches in genetics. So they're setting up the sanctuary to study the dinosaur DNA to kind of learn something. They're hoping that they will learn like new medical breakthroughs, new technologies from studying this prehistoric DNA. And so that is kind of the overall story. And in the ending discussion, I will tell you how the old cast and the new cast relate to all this. So things I liked about this movie. Look, the first is the gang is back together. It was really, really fun to see the classic characters from Jurassic Park interacting with the new characters from Jurassic World. They came up with a fairly convoluted way, but they got them all together. I really love seeing kind of like people's reaction to the old characters, because in this world, they're superstars. They were the kind of scientists at the first Jurassic Park. They're well known. Everyone, at least in this world, knows who they are. So it's fun to see kind of like people excited to see Dr. Alan Grant or Dr. Ellie Sattler or Ian Malcolm. Like, it's really fun to see kind of people's reactions to them. And the film also does a good job of like mixing the characters up so that you can see some of the older cast kind of talking to the new cast, and vice versa, and exchanging stories and funny anecdotes and things like that. It is really fun to see everyone back, and it's also really great to see that like the old cast still has it. They're still fun to watch. They're still exciting to watch. There's plenty of action in this movie, and the old cast does not as much, but a good amount of action. The second thing I loved is dinosaurs. Who doesn't love dinosaurs? And this is another movie with crazy dinosaurs. Now, I think in Jurassic World, they took a different tack. Jurassic Park had all your like classic dinosaurs, Triceratops, pterodactyl, T-Rex. Jurassic World, I think they focused on the Cretaceous period, the Cretaceous period. And so the dinosaurs are not the ones I normally know, but there are a lot of very interesting, weird, and exciting dinosaurs to see. And who doesn't love seeing dinosaurs on screen? And part of the reason that they're so fun to see is that the CG is really, really good. Like it's very natural. It really contributes to the overall experience. There's only a few instances where the CG is really noticeable. And in a movie that has so much CG as Jurassic World Dominion, that is an impressive feat by itself. And the third thing I liked is just all the references. There are a ton of references to the series, especially to Jurassic Park, from scenes that are similar to comments about things that happened in the first movie to lines and throwbacks from that movie. Like it is just really fun to see. They throw in a bunch. There are a lot of them in this movie, and it brought a smile to my face every time I saw one. Oh, and on top of all that, there are musical references too. The Jurassic Park theme comes up here and there. They mix it in new ways. There's always a reference to the first movie just around the corner. And the last thing I really liked is I liked the opening. The opening, I think, did a really good job, especially for a movie that came out 4 years after the previous one and also wasn't very good. So I don't know if a lot of people watched it. The opening does a really good job of summarizing all of that and bringing the audience back up to speed. Look, if you haven't seen any of the Jurassic Park movies, and I don't know how that's possible, but hey, maybe just watch Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. That's all you need to watch. And then the opening of this movie gives you a basic overview of what happened in Fallen Kingdom. So I really like that. I liked how it set that up, but I also liked how it showed people living with dinosaurs. There's some really fun scenes at the start where the impact of having dinosaurs back in our modern world is very stark and very well done. So things I didn't love as much about this movie. The first is the story. Like this story is insane. It has a ton of threads, a ton of plot points. They do a lot to try to get everyone back together. And look, I love that everyone's back together, but there were some lengths to get everyone there. And especially at the start, it was almost exhausting because you cut from one section to another section to another section, and you keep cutting back and forth trying to make sure everyone was like progressing their story. It was tough. And overall, the story in this movie, like I said, it doesn't feel much like a Jurassic Park kind of movie. It feels more like a Mission Impossible or a Fast and Furious. The underlying aspect of this movie is more of like a heist where you have this kind of strange cast of characters coming together to do this thing that has to happen. And so that gives it a very different feel. Like the dinosaurs were there, but they almost weren't like the main point in this movie. And the second thing I did not love is the length. This is a long movie. This is a very long movie. It took a while to get to the park. And then in the park, there were multiple instances where I was like, oh, we must be getting close in. Nope, we are still going. The movie is 2 hours and 26 minutes long, and it feels like it. Part of it is also that the story is just so over the place that you feel tired from watching all of it. Part of it is also that the movie is just long. There's a lot that they have to do to kind of like address things that happen in all the movies and also try to tie up the loose ends and close the loop on this kind of Jurassic era of these movies. And they do, it's not great, but they do good enough of a job like tying up everything. So, and the third thing I didn't love is, I guess like the main enemy, the main person kind of fits in with the story, but the plot, the kind of like underlying crisis in this movie, it felt a little bit too extreme and too manufactured. When they first kind of brought up the reason for it, it felt both ridiculous and also like it would be a very obvious perpetrator of who did this. And so it felt a little too on the nose. It felt a little bit too silly. And so I know they had to have a reason for everyone to go to the Dino Sanctuary, but for me, when like the underlying problem in this film just fell flat for me. Going into the ending, and like I said, there will be dinosaur-sized spoilers in this section. So if you don't want to know what happens in this film, turn it off now. At the start of Jurassic World Dominion, dinosaurs are now in the world, and so the consequences of that are readily apparent with the opening. But there is a new threat that gets introduced as well. There is this like swarm of locusts that is devouring food across America. They are like bioengineered locusts, so they're like 5 times as big, and they're super aggressive and they're super ravenous. And it seems like maybe they have been modified with dino DNA to make them bigger, stronger, more aggressive. And the other curious thing is they don't eat the crops that are put out by Biosyn, the specialized crops that Biosyn makes. These locusts don't eat. I wonder who could have made it. It's pretty obvious, and we all know it, but I guess they have to go in and prove it. So you have all the main characters back. So it starts off with Laura Dern, Dr. Ellie Sattler. She comes to a farm that has been devastated by these locusts to, do some more research and finds that they have actually caught one of the locusts. So she grabs it and is going to kind of analyze that locust. But, she has a locust, she can analyze it, but she can't prove that Biosyn created it. She needs DNA from Biosyn itself. That'd be tough to do. Maybe she'll be able to get it. When we catch up with Dr. Alan Grant, he is in Utah studying dinosaurs, as you'd expect. Although it is kind of weird that he is studying dinosaur bones when there's like actual living dinosaurs around. You'd think he'd want to be studying them, but maybe he has Phil in Jurassic Park. So he is still studying bones, and Ellie comes to like recruit him, saying, "Hey, look, I need you. We need to go to Biosyn's like base of operations and find out like if they actually created this, because if they did, that's not very good." And it turns out that they have someone on the inside who's helping them. Dr. Ian Malcolm was recently hired by Biosyn to be a kind of a chaos lecturer, to kind of think about things, I guess. He seems like he's just there to like lend credibility to them and also to just come up with crazy things about everything that Biosyn is doing. But apparently he reached out to Ellie and said like, "Hey, you should come see this. There's things that you should see, wink, wink." So now they're all going to go out to Biosyn. So that's the old cast. New cast, we have Claire, played by Bryce Dallas Howard. She is a kind of like, I don't know, eco-terrorist, maybe? I don't know what you would call her. She's like hunting down illegal dinosaur breeding activities and trying to like document it, send it to the authorities, and occasionally free dinosaurs that are trapped. But Chris Pratt, or Owen, is still kind of, I don't know, being a rebel. He's like capturing dinosaurs that are on the loose, presumably to then send them to Biosyn so they can, go to the sanctuary and be safe. Starts off with him like on horseback chasing down these dinosaurs and like roping one. It's an exciting scene. The CG's not great, but you know what? It's still Chris Pratt being Chris Pratt. And then you have Maisie. So Maisie is the clone of Charlotte Lockwood, who is the daughter of John Hammond's business partner who helped create Jurassic Park and like all the technology that allow these dinosaurs to come back. So she comes from a long line of geneticists. She's also kind of a secret because no one is supposed to know that she exists. She was cloned from Charlotte, and so it's not really the best thing to come out in public. They're worried that people are after her, and so she is living in secret with Owen and Claire. They're all living in the mountains, kind of living a almost nomadic lifestyle, trying to kind of stay under the radar. Oh, and then also you have Blue. Blue, everyone's favorite smart velociraptor, is here, and she has a child, a little child that Maisie named Beta. So that's kind of where everyone is. And eventually Claire and Owen's fears come true. They're worried that like Maisie is going to be kidnapped, and Maisie is. She's kidnapped by dinosaur poachers who also poach Blue's child Beta. So they get Beta and Maisie. And so these dinosaur poachers are taking them for some purpose. We don't really know what. And so Claire and Owen are going to go track them down in this worldwide adventure that eventually has them converge with Dr. Grant, Dr. Sattler, and Dr. Malcolm. Now, how do they do that? That's a tough question. They track Maisie and Beta to Malta at this like dinosaur exchange, where they infiltrate this like dinosaur exchange op with their old colleague from Jurassic World, who's now like in the French intelligence. It's an event. They go into this like dinosaur trading op where this exchange is supposed to happen. It doesn't happen there, so velociraptors get loose. It gets crazy. We meet some new characters. The only important one is Kayla, who is a former Air Force pilot who sees Maisie being kind of transported through here. They're in this op. It goes south. Raptors get released. There is a very long motorcycle run chase. It's actually a pretty well done scene. Like, it's a really good action scene, but again, it feels like something out of Mission Impossible. You've got like Chris Pratt on the motorcycle avoiding the velociraptors like by the skin of his pants. And then you have Claire like running from another raptor like through the buildings and like like jumping off of balconies and like trying to avoid this raptor. And eventually Kayla sees Claire running and like steals a car to help her get to the Biosyn base. She knows where Maisie was. Maisie was sent to the Biosyn base. And so she is a pilot who decides to help Claire and Owen get to Biosyn. I don't know why she does that because it's a pretty big ask for someone you just met. But you know what? Maybe she's a really good person. So back to the OG crew. We have Dr. Grant, Dr. Sattler, and Dr. Malcolm all touring the Biosyn facility. And this is really fun because you get to see everyone kind of idolizing them. And you have at Biosyn, the founder of Biosyn, the CEO of Biosyn, Lewis Dawson, who is basically Tim Cook. He is the founder, he is the figurehead. So at Biosyn, you have Lewis Dawson, who is like the CEO of Biosyn, maybe the founder, who is basically, I think, supposed to be Tim Cook. He looks like Tim Cook. He is the head of this organization. He's trying to like motivate people. And you also have Ramsey, who is kind of like his right-hand person who is there to help facilitate the tour that Alan Grant and Ellie Sattler are going to take. They're just there supposedly to learn more about what's happening, but they secretly also want to get that locust DNA. So while they're there, they meet up with Malcolm. It's a really fun kind of scene where he distracts everyone, gives Ellie his access so they can go down to get that locust DNA. And so what we find out is that Biosyn engineered these locusts to basically cripple the world's food supply, to destroy everything but Biosyn crops. And so Biosyn would be the only crop you could get that would survive these locusts. It seems like a pretty crazy plan. Like, I guess maybe it went out of control. The locusts maybe got bigger or something, but that plan seems ridiculous when they have dinosaurs. Why would you want to like cripple the world's food supply? It seems silly, but you know what? They had to have a reason for the dino DNA to make it into locusts. So there we go. Now, while they're there, you also have Claire, Owen, and Kayla flying into the sanctuary. And unfortunately for them, Kayla doesn't really have a great plan. Like, she kind of jumped at the opportunity to help them, but didn't really formulate a plan. So when they're flying up, the sanctuary is like, hey, why are you here? And it's like, oh, we got to drop off some cargo. And they're like, no, you don't. And so the sanctuary then turns off the like air defense system, the system that keeps the dangerous, not pterodactyls, but kind of look like pterodactyls, but they're from the Cretaceous period, keeps them from flying too high. So unfortunately for Kayla and her plane, the pterodactyls attack the plane, take it down. Claire ejects. She's somewhere else on the island. Owen and Kayla crash in a lake of ice. Okay. Going back to the OG crew, they make it down to the lab. They get the locust DNA, and as they're escaping, things go bad, of course, because it's a Jurassic Park movie. Everything goes bad. As they're escaping, they run into Maisie. So before Maisie escaped, she was talking to Dr. Henry Wu, who was actually in the first Jurassic Park. I love this aspect. He's here in Jurassic World Dominion. He is there to talk to Maisie about her mom slash donor, I guess, Charlotte. And he gives her some more information about Charlotte. So Charlotte really wanted a child, but wanted to do it on her own terms. And she was a brilliant geneticist. So she essentially created a clone of herself and like implanted it into her. And so she like grew Maisie from herself. So Maisie is a clone, but like she was grown in Charlotte's, belly. She was birthed by Charlotte. But unfortunately for Charlotte, Charlotte had a genetic condition that caused her to deteriorate as she got older. She didn't want that for Maisie. She wanted Maisie to have a full life. So she came up with a way to like modify Maisie's DNA and get rid of the genetic abnormality. I guess maybe like an early CRISPR or a super CRISPR. I don't know, something like that. It worked. It cured Maisie. Maisie doesn't have this condition, but unfortunately, Charlotte's the only one who knows how to do it. And so Dr. Henry Wu wants to figure out how Charlotte did this because he thinks he can make a bunch of medical breakthroughs. Most importantly, being that he can destroy this swarm of dino locusts that are destroying the world that he also created. So he wants to kind of find a way to reverse this by using Charlotte's DNA technology from like, I guess the 1990s or so, like early 2000s. And so in order to learn those secrets, he needs to study Maisie and also needs to study Blue's baby, because Blue also kind of created a baby from itself, like used its own DNA, I guess. Maisie wants none of this. She escapes, runs into the OG crew. So they all escape through a special hyperloop that, because it's a Jurassic Park movie, it doesn't really something breaks down, dinosaurs attack. You know the drill. Now, I'm gonna skip a few more of these parts. Everyone eventually ends up at one of the like observation outposts, and unfortunately for them, they are there with a Giganotosaurus, which is one of the largest carnivores and is the apex predator in this Jurassic World sanctuary. So there's an exciting scene where they are trying to get into this like observation area slash base, and that thing is attacking them. They barely make it in there. So both the old crew and the new crew end up at this like observation area as part of the base. But right before they do that, Dawson decides, hey, you know what? Everything's going bad. I'm gonna destroy these locusts and try to like destroy the evidence. So he takes all the evidence that he has on his computer, puts it in the recycling bin, which I thought was kind of silly, and then decides to destroy the locusts. So he sets all the locusts on fire. I guess they're too strong though, because they're all on fire and they swarm and they break through the glass that was holding them and go like up out of the facility. And so now there's this like flying, flaming dino locust cloud that is going all over the Jurassic sanctuary. And so they're like on fire and flying and like falling from the sky because some of them are dying. And so they're lighting things on fire. It is chaos. So now we have everyone in this like observation area. But unfortunately for them, because the park is just in chaos, there's not enough power for them to get out. They want to get to this helicopter pad so they can take off and leave the sanctuary. But there's not enough power to turn the ADS system on. They know from previous experience, if they take off without the ADS system on, then they'll get taken down. So they have to both turn off, I guess, the main systems to route the power to the ADS system, but also Owen wants to get Blue's baby Beta. So we've got Malcolm and Ramsey, who is here now. He came also to help. They stay at the control panel. We have Owen, Maisie, and Alan go get Beta. And then we have Ellie and Claire go to do the power. So as you can imagine, things go bad, but everyone makes out okay. And during this time, we didn't know where Kayla was. Where's Kayla? She went to go get one of those helicopters, but she's been waiting for this ADS system to turn back on so she can get going. Once the ADS system is turned on, Kayla takes the helicopter and flies to go pick them up. But unfortunately for her, so when the flaming cloud of locusts started setting everything on fire and destroying this area, Lawson issued an evacuation order, which caused everyone in the base and all the personnel to leave, but also caused all the dinosaurs to kind of converge in the middle of the sanctuary. They have like wiring in them that can kind of loosely control them. So if they get the signal, they all go to the center of the sanctuary. Unfortunately for our heroes, the center of this place is where they are. So when Kayla is going to come pick them all up, there are dinosaurs there, and so she has to avoid them and land a little bit farther away, and our heroes have to go and try to get to her. But unfortunately for them, Giganotosaurus is here again, and he is not happy. But they realize he's not there to take them out. He's there to fight T-Rex, because T-Rex is also there, and we have two apex predators in the sanctuary, and they have to figure out who's going to be the lead. So Giganotosaurus and T-Rex fight. Unfortunately for everyone around them, it is very messy. So so all of our heroes have to avoid this whole fight. And our heroes now include Dr. Wu, who gave an impassioned speech about how he wanted to help the world and save the world from the locusts that he created. So he's now with them too. They're all trying to get to the helicopter. These dinosaurs are fighting. And unfortunately, T-Rex loses. Like Giganotosaurus takes it down. Oh, but then Ellie runs out to try to distract Giganotosaurus, because if Giganotosaurus like eats the T-Rex there, it's going to essentially collapse this metal and kill our friends. So Ellie runs out to distract it, like another callback. But then thankfully Kayla has a flare, so she fires a flare off, which distracts Giganotosaurus long enough for our heroes to get out. And then We also meet a dinosaur that we'd seen earlier. It's this weird, like bird-like thing that has these giant claws. It kind of looks like salad fingers. It is a Therizinosaurus, and it comes here to I guess attack the apex predator. And Therizinosaur has like crazy claws, so it's just like slaps Giganotosaurus. But Giganotosaurus, I think, is probably more powerful overall. So they start to fight, and you think, okay, what's going to happen? And then you see T-Rex's eye pop up, and T-Rex gets up, as he always does. He always has to be the hero. Rises up, and now we have T-Rex and Therizinosaur fighting the Giganotosaurus. They fight. Eventually, T-Rex like pushes Giganotosaurus into Therizinosaur's claws, and so like it impales him like Wolverine. Giganotosaurus falls down. T-Rex wins. I guess T-Rex and Therizinosaur can be friends because they don't end up fighting. And during this time, all of our heroes get to the helicopter and escape. Everyone's out. The sanctuary has the dinosaurs. It's kind of destroyed, but dinosaurs are all safe because they went to their little sanctuary area. And Dawson was killed when he was trying to escape, and the power was like rerouted. He was in the Hyperloop. The power got rerouted to turn on the ADS system. Hyperloop didn't move anymore. When he was leaving, when he was like trying to leave through the Hyperloop, he got attacked by spitters. And this was a fun like callback again, because before he left, he grabbed that like Barbasol can, the original Barbasol can. He brought it with him. And when he's attacked by spitters, it's reminiscent of what happened in Jurassic Park. And also he like dropped the Barbasol can as he was like running away from them. So really good callback. And Dawson is gone. So now that everyone has escaped, we can find out what happened to everyone. So Dr. Wu was getting first aid. He hurt himself when he was escaping. So Ramsey is talking to the press, telling them everything about what happened. Ellie, for some reason, still needs to use this like locust DNA that she got to prove that it was Biosyn, even though I think Ramsey's probably telling everyone that it was Biosyn. So she's like, hey, Alan, like, I'd love it if you went with me, but I know you don't want to do this anymore. And I was like, no, of course I'm going with you. So Ellie and Alan are back together. Yay. Maisie is getting first aid. She had some cuts from the escape, and she looks over at Claire and Owen, and they're like together, hanging out. And Maisie realizes like, hey, look, these are my parents. She's mentioned it a couple times, but the start of this movie, there's a lot of tension between the two of them because they were trying to keep her hidden and she wanted to escape, and she was a teenager, so she had tension anyways. But now she has finally come to terms with like them being a family, and so she's pretty happy about that. So everything seemed to work out. So Dr. Wu was able to find a pathogen to stop the locusts before they destroyed the world. I guess hopefully the Biosyn Valley was designated a global sanctuary, so all the dinosaurs can live there protected. Kayla was, I think her plane was given back to her because she received a plane that looked just like her old plane, even with some of the decals, and she spray painted a 2 on it. So her plane was probably fixed up and given back to her. So Kayla ended up with a plane and the good feeling of helping someone. And Owen, Claire, and Maisie all take Beta back to Blue. And then in the end, we get this message about how now dinosaurs are part of our world, and so everyone has to coexist. And we see all these scenes of like dinosaurs hanging out with regular animals, which is weird because at the start it was all like dinosaurs destroying the world. So I guess in this incident, now everything's fine. We see like dinosaurs running with horses. We see pterodactyls flying with ducks. We see like a brontosaurus eating some pine needles, and we see like that alligator crazy dinosaur from Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, some with some blue whales, and Triceratops is roaming with elephants. And there we go. That is the movie. That is Jurassic World Dominion. That concludes the Jurassic saga of this franchise. They say it's the end of this. I imagine they'll probably make a new one. Maybe it'll be like Cretaceous World. I don't know. There will probably be another Jurassic Park movie at some point. I guess probably depending on how this movie does. And look, I'd be okay with it. I like seeing dinosaurs. I didn't love this movie. I thought it was very, very long and very convoluted. But the more I thought about it, the more I kind of liked how they pulled everything together and tried to at least address everything. So I think it's ultimately a rental. Oh, and there's also no stinger. Don't worry about staying for the credits. There's no stinger. Just the movie's already 2 hours and 26 minutes long. You can bounce when the credits start. So thanks so much for watching. If you like this review, please like and subscribe to this channel. It helps me out a lot. Make sure all my new content goes straight to you. Thank you. right, let's go. Whew. This thing is real tough to be in.